Yeah, that's why I keep a little notebook by the bedside. And I was like, ah! Because if you don't write it down, you're gonna lose it. You know. Thank God for smartphones. You can like take a voice memo and email it to yourself now. I've got 60 of them waiting in my inbox right now. So let's talk punk rock for a minute, just for a minute.
I'm in there.
Yeah, Aaron's at the show. So this is 2008, 9, 6. It was a while ago. I used to be in a band called Hands on Throat, thrashcore band, very intense, very loud. We used to practice a couple times a week. I actually played drums. I'd be playing guitar on this song. Me and Travis used to switch for a couple songs. And I burn a lot of calories playing drums for these guys. It's a workout. It's kind of like a CrossFit workout playing the drums. So break a lot of cymbals, break a lot of sticks, break a lot of heads. So I needed nourishment. So I would ride my bike down to practice. I remember the first time I went to practice was in the middle of the winter. And I showed up. I had dropped my drums off earlier that week, and I rode my bike through the snow. And I showed up at their house like in full commuting gear. They're like, "Can I help you?" I'm like, "Hey, it's your drummer." And they're like, "Oh, we got a freaky hippie." Excellent. Anyway, we played together for 4 years. A lot of energy expenditure playing drums for this band. So what I used to do on the way down to practice, we practiced on the south end of town, I'd stop at Del Taco and pick up 4 half-pound bean and cheese burritos and a large Coke, I think at the time, just to get the caffeine from the long day and also just calories. More on that momentarily. But I started wondering, after a year or so of purchasing these things, yeah, I know, let's not focus on this too much. Yeah, we'll get to it. But what I started wondering was, how much, on average, does what they call a half-pound bean and cheese burrito actually weigh? Like, is it marketed correctly? Is it half a pound? Right? Is it half a pound? So I decided to do some measurements. So I borrowed a scale from... This is like, oh my God, of course he did. I borrowed a scale from Bruce Emerson in science. I got a super precise 1,000th of a pound scale. This thing's great. FYI, if you ever want to use one of these things, you can't put it on a speaker with the fuzzy covering. It needs to be on like a hard, smooth surface. It doesn't work. It's amazingly precise. It needs a perfectly smooth surface to work. I didn't know that. I learned it pretty quickly. So what I would do was, I'd grab 4 of them each practice, and I'd roll down to practice. I would then roll, I think I used my TI. I don't think I actually rolled a die, but I used the TI to generate a random number between 1 and 4. And then I'd weigh that or those burritos that day and throw them into the table. And then I'd consume them. Next week I get 4 more, roll the die, or use, I think I used the TI, I'm almost positive, to generate a number from 1 to 4. And then I'd weigh those or that one. And then I kept going until I had, what am I got? 5, 10, 15, 20, 30 of them. I got 30 of them. I was like, that's enough. That's enough. Some of you might say that's not enough. We just showed that in order to be within 3% margin of error with 95% confidence, you need like 1,000. All right? But we're going to re-answer that question with you guys as we go. We're going to re-answer that question. So I have a question for you guys. On average, how much does a Del Taco half-pound bean and cheese burrito weigh? So suppose they weren't called half-pound bean and cheese burritos, right? Suppose this is a sample drawn from the population of Del Taco bean burritos that happen to have cheese and beans in them, and green sauce, whatever I used to give them. What would you say their weight was on average? More than half.
Mm-hmm.
Why?
Because there's more numbers up there that are bigger than a half.
Okay, I like this. Brandon, thank you. Brandon's got a really good point. He says, why don't we do this like we just got done doing with proportions? Let's look at it from a proportional standpoint. So, everybody grab your TIs. Let's actually do that. Brandon, that's a great idea, my friend. Fire up your machines, and let's go with a 1 prop Z int. Like we did with the house sale prices last, foreclosure rates last class. Like you'll do for the quiz on Thursday, should you choose that quiz. Fire them up. Stat tests, 1 prop Z. We got 30 burritos, so that's your sample size. So Brandon's saying, what percentage are above half a pound? There's 1 below, 2 below. I got 7 below, so that means 23 or above. Is that fair? Are any of them exactly at? This was fun. This is why I loved having the scale being that precise, because the chance of getting exactly .500 was basically non-existent.
You have 2 at 509.
Right, but not 500. Not accurate to 1,000. This is where my math geek guy kicks in. I'm like, can I get it exactly? No, not the thousandth. Okay, so let's go 23 out of 30, shall we?
And we're assuming you weighed these outside the wrapper?
I did. Took it out of the wrapper before I ate them. I got them made with the normal sampling error. Yes, left the wrapper off. That reminds me of the movie Smoke. Ever seen that movie years ago? Forrest Whitaker. How much does Smoke weigh? How much does Smoke weigh? And I forget the guy. What was it? Richard Hurt. Is that his name? Actor.
That's an actor's name.
I think it was him. But he said, here's how you weigh smoke. He's like, take a cigar, put it on a scale, weigh, then smoke it down. Ash into the tray, ash onto the scale each time. Smoke it down to the nub, put the nub on the scale. When you're done, weigh what you got left, subtract it from what you started with. Whatever's left must be the way to smoke. That was very clever. Very clever. Ignores chemistry a little bit, but whatever. It's very, very clever. It's fun. But yes, took the wrappers off. So if I do this, with a confidence level of 95%, I can be assured that between 62% and 92% of the burritos have what characteristic? Are over half a pound. Between 62 and 92% are over half a pound. That is a hell of a margin, isn't it? That's a hell of a margin. Why is it so wide? Because you only have a sample of 30, right? That's the trick. You only have a sample of 30. And you have to accept a margin. What's that, a 15%? Plus or minus 15% because it's 30 wide. You have to accept a wide margin because of that. And Brandon, I love what you said. I love chasing that down. But the kicker is, I didn't ask how many were above half a pound. I said, how much do they actually weigh? That's a different question, isn't it? Because in order to know above half a pound, you'd have to already have that half pound in your mind, right? Like, I have to compare it to this number right here. What are you thinking, Ben? What are you thinking?
Well, my first instinct would be just to take the range. The smallest is 0.489, so
Uh-huh.
we say on average they weigh between 0.489 and 0.586.
All right, I love that. Look at the range of values. 0.489 is the smallest, yes? And then the highest was, I see a 563, 586? Is that the largest?
Yeah.
So 489 to 586, that's about what, a hundredth of a pound a tenth of a pound difference-ish. 489 to 586, got a tenth of a pound leeway between. So you maybe make the assumption that halfway between is where the center is? That's a bit of an assumption, isn't it? And that's not exactly what you said either. You just said you're trapped between these two values. But then can you claim a half pound on average? Because you have that 489 on there. We haven't done the average yet, have we? So, and again, I love the idea of looking at range, but as we just saw with that goofy little Excel spreadsheet, we can't apply inferential methods to range because range doesn't target. Damn! Matter of fact, it's one of the most volatile ones, right? The range? Yes. So, I guess what I'm getting at here with Del Taco, and we're going to keep going, we're going to come back to Del Taco in a second, is, oh goodness. I want to compare and contrast the difference between what we were just doing with what Brandon told us to do